Welcome to the Black Bibliophile podcast. The Black Bibliophile is a podcast where I, Jazz, read and talk about popular and little-known books, comics, zines, and authors. To quote Haruki Murakami, if you only read the books that everyone else is reading, you can only think what everyone else is thinking. And with that, let's start the show. Welcome back to the Black Bibliophile. This is me, Jazz, and this week we have a special guest and my best friend and person I forced to read every book I've ever read, Kelsey. So Kelsey, say.
Well, hello everybody.
Yes. So Kelsey and I are going to talk about this book that I forced her to read, I don't know how long ago?
Like 7 years ago, maybe.
7 years ago I forced her to read this book, and I forced her to read books all the time. And that book is Stranger in a Strange Land by Robert Heinlein. So I'm going to read the summary and then we're just going to get into it. Also, just want to, brace you guys. It's going to be full of spoilers. If you want to read this book, definitely read it, but also know that this episode is full of spoilers. So anyways, let's get to the summary. Valentine Michael Smith is a human being raised on Mars, newly returned to Earth, among his people for the first time. He struggles to understand the social mores and prejudices of human nature that are so alien to him, while teaching them his own fundamental beliefs in groking, water sharing, and love. That's like the most minimal explanation of any book, but this one for real, because this book is long as shit, and it is about so much more. Anyways, let's talk about it. What do you want to bring up first, or should I just hop in? Let's talk about Michael.
All right, yeah, let's talk about Michael.
So Michael's from Mars. He is a Martian, a human. Okay, so let's explain how he ended up on Mars.
So essentially, this is a book that is set in the future. We have been starting to send expeditions to Mars. Now, there is an expedition of 3 couples, a different variation of professions.
Yeah, they're each so one will be like a biologist, photographer, and
cook.
A cook. Like, they all are the perfect combination of all these professions to send on this trip.
So, essentially, there is a little bit of, what should we say?
I don't know. So, on the ship, some of these are like arranged marriages just so they can get on the expedition to Mars. And on the way there, hookups happen.
Not between married couples.
Between married couples. And Michael Valentine is the product of one of these hookups. And it all goes wrong.
Yes. So essentially, there's a bunch of politics back on Earth in, regards to his birth. But the mission was a failure because all of the couples died.
Yeah, they all died. They, landed on Mars, and it was a bloodbath.
Yeah, so
basically it imploded. That's the nice way of saying, if you want to know more, you should read the book. So it imploded, but all that was left was this baby Michael, and they didn't know about Michael. The government on Earth didn't know about Michael or the civilization on Mars, right?
Correct. So essentially, they're thinking, great, we're able to colonize Mars, start building and everything, not knowing that there is a full-on Martian population inhabiting the planet.
And that Martian population finds Michael and raises Michael, a human baby raised by Martians. So then they send another expedition to Mars, 20 years later, and they find Michael just chilling.
Yeah. So essentially, they make contact with the Martians, and then they see this human child.
Well, he's no longer a child.
Well, true, yeah.
He's a young adult. He's 20-something.
Yeah.
He's a man. But he's got the mind of a child because he doesn't know he's Martian.
Yeah, so...
And then they're like, oh, we're just going to take him home.
Yeah.
They just took him back to Earth.
So it complicated the second mission because they're now bringing back someone who is mentally Martian, physically human, not necessarily knowing what stage he's at because he's having a hard time communicating with this expedition.
So yeah, so they take him back And Michael's put in the hospital. Then what happens? So he's put in the hospital and under lock and key, like nobody can talk to Michael. He doesn't know what women look like. Blah, blah, blah. And we follow this nurse. I keep forgetting her name. The silence.
Does it start with a J?
It doesn't or does? Because I want to say Judy.
No.
That's so shitty. How do we both forget?
I can't believe it.
We both forgot. Hold on. I have the book right here. It should pop up somewhere. Jill. We were right. Jill.
It starts with a J. Okay.
We were right. So Jill's a nurse. She's no nonsense, whatever. She's just trying to live her life and get through things and, you know, get a hot date, catch a man.
Yeah.
Her goals are pretty straightforward. Make money, get dick.
Yeah, so I think as we all can appreciate.
Yes, we all appreciate that lifestyle.
Essentially, she is working her regular shift. Now, she accidentally happens upon the man from Mars. Now, the reason this is, you know, a strange meeting because he has never seen a human female.
Mm-mm.
And Martians don't have gender.
No.
So, and they also don't have a concept of sexualized gender.
Yeah, Mike goes on a whole nother plane of existence. Like, it's the way Heinlein writes it is so great because he's basically a baby in a alien life form wrapped into a grown ass man, and he's like, "Oh, look at her, she's cool. Let's be friends." And then they share water, which is a really, really intense ceremony on Mars.
So if you share water, you are known as a water brother.
Mm-hmm.
This is somebody who can never betray you, never lie to you, and will always have your best interest at heart. You know, you will always trust your water brother implicitly.
And so Jill didn't know that, and she handed him a glass of water, and he was like, "Oh shit, this strange creature wants to
be my brother.
Wants to be my brother. I can't say no. This is such a great honor." So he takes the water and then hands her the water, and then she drinks the water, and the ceremony is complete, and she fucked up.
Yeah, so essentially, when he is overcome with emotion, he goes into a catatonic state.
Yep.
Where his vital signs nearly drop to zero. He doesn't breathe. He swallows his tongue and basically dies nearly.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
Michael's fun. Michael's fun.
So, understandably, this freaks out Jill, and she, you know, kind of
skedaddles because she's not even supposed to be in that damn room in the first place.
Now, one of the things is kind of the impetus for changing the story is she has a gentleman caller known as Bill Paxton.
Bill Paxton, the actor. No,
oh, wait, no. What is it? Wait, what is his name?
His name is not Bill Paxton. It is not the actor. It's like
He's
Ben.
Caxton. No, it's
Caxton.
Oh, Ben Caxton.
It's Ben Caxton.
Not Bill Paxton.
Not Bill Paxton. Oh my God.
We can edit that out.
No, we can't. I'm keeping it. It's hilarious.
And
Bill Paxton's a great actor. Rest in peace. But no, it's Ben Caxton. He's a reporter, and he's been trying to get the scoop on the man from Mars because since there was already a human living on Mars, let's get into the politics here. That means technically he owns Mars, or he has sovereignty over Mars. So that means the government cannot colonize a space that's already owned.
Yes. So essentially,
he's claimed ownership for the last 20 years of Mars without knowing it.
Yeah. So on one hand, there is a huge corporation that funded this whole thing, and now since all of its beneficiaries, ergo the 6 members of that mission from Mars died,
everything
he
goes.
became heir of that entire corporation.
Yep.
And then also, on the other hand, he is considered the person to have first
discovered, landed on, claimed Mars.
So he is, the sovereign power, the king or what have you, of Mars as well. So he is the most wealthiest person in the galaxy because he owns Mars and also
this huge corporation. And yeah,
the government is kind of like
and they're trying to like manipulate him into giving all that up, but he's like a baby, and when he gets really frustrated or overwhelmed, he goes into that catatonic state. So it's a hot mess. So Ben Caxton was like, get me in the room with him or something, or we got to rescue him. We got to rescue him. And Jill's like, all right. I mean, sounds cool and badly, and he doesn't belong in there. And so
it happens upon essentially Jill finds out that there is a plot to murder this man from Mars.
Yeah, because if he dies, then they get everything.
Exactly. So, but he is replaced with a dummy. Basically, they put, because of course the public is clamoring to see this man from Mars.
But again, Michael is not for the public. He's a mess.
Yes. So they hire an actor to play him. As soon as Jill sees this, she's like, "Oh shit! They're gonna kill him
because it's easier to have an actor than because nobody knows what he looks like."
So,
yeah.
Essentially, that's kind of the start to this story.
Yeah, but we should just talk about how we feel about the story. What do we like about the story? I like Michael. I like Michael in the beginning. Michael goes through there's like 3 phases of Michael in this book.
Yes. So basically,
But the beginning phases, he's like a baby. He's adorable. He knows nothing.
He's called a nestling in Martian
terms. Yes.
So, yeah, you're a nestling, you don't know anything, and you depend on Martian elders to tell you what should be, what shouldn't be. Now,
I kind of dig. I like how they combine. You learn more about Martian culture through Michael's experiences and how Michael deals with humans.
Mm-hmm.
Like, his differences stand out a lot, and we get to be inside of his head, which is insane.
Yeah. So it's trusting beyond belief. Like, there is a certain type of naivety that you are instantly protective of him as a reader.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're looking for these subplots around him. You're like, I see what you're doing.
Yeah, you see it. And you want nothing bad to happen to him. The entire time you're like, don't let them kill him. Don't let anything bad happen to him. He's a sweet, sweet boy. Let him thrive. And also maybe take his ass home. Like, he shouldn't be on Earth.
Then we, of course, I think a lot of people would relate to Jill, because, yeah, if you're gonna find, you're like, oh, this sweet, innocent,
baby.
Basically child.
A baby.
Yeah, they're going to murder them. You know, I think, at least my first instinct would be like,
let's break him out of here.
Yep.
Let's dress him up as a nurse and get him out of this hospital. And then protect him. And then, yeah, Michael's just fun. He's just a weirdo. And it's interesting, but you can't forget that he's a grown-ass man, too, because he starts to get attracted to Jill. He's inappropriate.
Yeah. So, yeah, in the beginning, it elicits feeling of protection, you know, kind of more maternal feelings, and you're like, okay, this sweet child, we must protect his innocence.
And then when he gets to Jobel's place, Jobel Hershaw, who's like, how do I explain him? He's like a Renaissance man. Philosopher, Renaissance man, romance writer. Right? He writes romance books.
Yeah, and columns. Yeah.
And columns.
He writes what the public would like to read, and that whether that be
he does
romance
everything
to tragedy.
He's also a lawyer.
So basically, Jubal Harshaw is like Protection Man 5000.
He is so then Ben basically gets Jill and Michael to Jubal's house, and Jubal basically protects, educates, and mentors Michael into a human? Earthling? Human? He's already human. Earthling?
I guess Earthling. Or a man. He's always talking about you're a man. You know, you're human. So, but at the same time, Jubal is almost like a pacifist in the sense where he's just like, let him discover it on his own.
Yeah, let him do his own thing.
And then at the end of the day, we'll talk about it.
Jubal's house is my favorite part of the book.
I'd have to say the same.
Yeah, it's my favorite part of the book. That whole section. So the first section is like discovering Michael, learning all about, is it the Endeavor?
Yeah.
The Endeavor mission and the political things surrounding Michael's being. And then the second part is Jubal's house.
Yeah.
And figuring out how to safely let Michael be.
Mm-hmm. So Jubal, of course, is completely interested in Michael's reactions to humans. Jubal has a unique perspective on...
He's just experimenting on him.
Basically,
he's just experimenting. He's like poking him like, what do you think of that?
So...
Because also Michael can like... he's like magical.
Yeah, so essentially Martians have a different way of thinking and manipulating matter. So... we discover kind of later on that, yeah, Michael can manipulate things into not being anymore. He
can discorporate, which is, like, he can just turn off his body and die whenever he wants to. So when he saw Jill getting upset, like, he did the water ceremony with Jill back in the hospital room, and she was gonna leave or something. What did she do?
Yeah, she had to go on her rounds.
Yeah, she was about to get caught in his room, and she was gonna leave, and he was like, "Oh no, she hates me. I guess if she's getting so upset, she looked like she was about to discorporate or die. He's like, I guess if she goes, I go too. We're water brothers.
Yeah,
ride or die." And I was like, oh no, he's gonna shut off his body, but he can just turn off his body. He can, what's that thing called?
He can project himself out of his body.
Yeah, astro project and like walk around, leave his body somewhere, just walk around and hang out.
Mm-hmm.
He's
a lot.
Oh, and he can also send people into different dimensions that I don't know where they go.
Yeah, he just says he turns them. So basically, he turns them out of existence.
Yeah, he sent like they were being chased by cops or the government or somebody, and then he made them disappear.
Yeah. So it was an interesting section because also it came with a talk about guns and how
he doesn't like guns.
He does not like guns. He perceives, as he says, a wrongness in them. So it's interesting because at the first sight of a gun, he knew it was wrong, and so he turned the gun and the person holding it out of existence, which of course kind of upset the host. They're kind of like, "Where'd you send him?"
Yeah. When I first read this book, it just kind of I've never read anything like this, where I've read a lot of sci-fi, but I've never read anything where you explore cultures in this way, I guess. Cultures, politics, religion, sex, philosophy. Everything is explored, and I mean, it is a long book. It's like, I don't know, 600 pages or something.
Mm-hmm.
But it goes so in depth in all these things, and Heinlein weaves it in such a way that it doesn't feel like you're learning about 300 things at once. It just feels like this is a part of life.
It's an interesting way because it is so fluid in the sense where, at least, even though it's foreign how he believes and how he perceives things on Earth, you can, in some ways,
grok it.
You can. Now, grok is a hard word. It kind of like sums up the experience of the entire
book, yeah.
Because grokking is something that is explained as like, oh, you are it. You relate to it, you understand it, but you are it.
You get it fully, completely, and it is you. So you grok it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's used a lot in the book, and I didn't fully grok it.
Yeah. I think this book is impossible to fully grok.
You have to read it. We were just talking about this. Like, this is a book you have to read as you evolve as a person. It's something you reread like every year.
Yeah.
Because it changes every time you read it. Like, the first time I read it, I was like 17. Fully did not grok this book at 17. I just knew it was good. And then I was like, Kelsey,
I must read this.
Read this damn book. And how long did it take you to read it?
Okay, well, that was only like 3 years. I did read it
You read it. It took you 3 years to read it, though.
Yeah.
Okay,
but anyway, I did end up reading it. I loved it, and I do. It's kind of like, a yearly, trek to read this thing because
it's big. There's a lot going on. And I do want to warn you guys that this book is like, it's thick. It's a thick book.
With I'm gonna look. C's, like
it's about, let's see, 525 pages.
And that's on a big size book.
And then I do recommend you read the original uncut version, the way Heinlein wanted it. There's like two versions. If you buy an older copy of this book from like the 70s or 60s, you will get the edited book. The publisher didn't think people would get it, and it was also all the sex stuff and all the. It was at the time of the. No, it's fine. It's at the time of this. What is it called? The movement.
Oh yes.
The sex movement. I don't know. We'll look it up. But in the 60s where everybody's like love and peace and sex and all that shit, it came out at that time and it like blew people's minds, and then people thought it was too racy. And the free love movement. Free love?
I think it was
free love movement. So they edited it down to something that they thought could be more PC and that conservatives could get into too. And then later on, Virginia Heinlein found the uncut version and asked Ace to re-release it. So if you go to any bookstore now, I think you'll get the uncut version. I got this, I think, at Barnes & Noble, but do support local bookshops because, yes. Back to the book.
Back to the book. So this book, I'd say it has multiple parts because you follow his evolution through Martian standards. So once you evolve from being a nestling, you are considered a full adult. Now this, in the book, it happened over the course of one night.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Once he
grokked
everything that happened while he was a nestling, he emerged the next day after sleeping. Well, actually, he doesn't sleep. It was just when he goes into his catatonic state.
Yeah, it's like meditating / catatonic state.
He evolved as an adult. Now, this is kind of the point where, the reader, I think, slightly stops and is like, oh, he seems not to be as
naive
and innocent anymore.
He's down to I was gonna say down the clown, but that's not the best way to put it.
Essentially, he's all about growing closer.
He's down to fuck, is what we're trying to say. All of a sudden, he's like, let's bone. And it's really and Jubal has like 3 assistants. Mm-hmm. They're rotating assistants, these lovely ladies.
And secretaries.
They transcribe his books, so he'll just dictate, and then they transcribe whatever he says, and that becomes his books. And they cook, they clean, they organize, they set up meetings. I'm sure they pay the bills.
Yeah.
They run his whole life, and he let him feel like he's in charge.
Mm-hmm. They're absolutely, some folks, I think, I talked to some people, and they're like, they didn't like Jubal because of
the rotating. Oh, he also sleeps with them, too. Right?
No, he doesn't.
Oh, no, he doesn't. They always joke about it.
Yeah, but he never does. So people, I think, misunderstand his character a lot because they're like, oh, he's a complete misogynist or whatever. But these women are also like...
They're running his entire life.
And they know it, too.
Yeah, and they let him believe he's in charge. It's not like he does say misogynistic stuff, but they kind of like, keep talking. Okay. Okay, so, you keep talking, you do that.
He's an interesting fellow.
He's funny. He's a hot mess of a man. But he's controlled by all these women, and these women are dope. And then, which one of them grows closer with Valentine?
So, one of them grows closer and starts him off on his new stage of being.
His sexual journey.
I think it was Dorcas, wasn't it?
Dorcas?
I know.
Is that her name?
Well, there's Dorcas, Miriam, and Anne.
It might have been. Was it the redhead? Had to be Dorcas.
I think it was Dorcas because Miriam married the...
No, yeah. There's a ton of people in this book.
It's hard to keep track. Now,
it's easier to keep track when you think of his phases of life. So, like, at Jubal's house, there's the 3 women, Jill, Jubal, Michael.
And then also the 2 tech guys.
And then eventually Ben.
Yeah.
God, there's a lot of people.
There's a lot of people in this book. So, once Michael has his...
Grow closer moment.
It was the next morning he comes downstairs and announces to Jubal that he is leaving to experience all that life has to offer. Now, of course...
Wait, was this before or after they had to fix his whole political situation?
After.
Yeah, because also Ben told Jill and Michael to go to Jubal's house so he can help them negotiate and or fix Michael's political situation, so they're not trying to kill him to get ownership of Mars. Basically,
what they did this was actually insanely smart. So they organized... Now, Jubal is the one who basically pulled all of these strings. So he contacted kind of the leader of the free world. Now, keep in mind, this is not the U.S. This is the United Federation of countries.
Yeah, it's completely just the future.
And so he comes in announcing that he is basically the sovereign of Mars.
Yeah, he has flags, and he had them create a song. It's all bullshit. Like, he created an actual, like, Mars anthem, and they have flags, and they have everything. It's probably hilarious. It's the funniest part of the book because it's ridiculous.
It's complete, like, hijinks.
Because Michael's just like, I'm just here, man. Like, Jubal's in charge of everything.
No, what they did was, it was slightly underhanded, but it was also interesting because what they did is they gave legal power to the leader of the free world to hold all of his assets in protection.
Mm-hmm.
So they did. They gave the power to the leader of the free world, so they're like, you need to leave it alone. You can hold it.
You can hold it, and then also that'll keep Michael alive and Jill alive so they can, live.
Exactly. So they basically give this away. Now, if anything happens to Michael, of course...
Something with stipulations.
There were many stipulations, so if anything happened, or if this leader didn't do anything they didn't like, it would all go back to Michael's water brothers.
Which is like Jubal, who's the scientist?
Dr. Mahmood.
Dr. Mahmood and Jill.
Mm-hmm.
Was it also the secretaries? Didn't
he
Jubal,
added them later.
Yeah, Jubal made them all do the water ceremony with Michael.
And their beneficiary.
Yeah, because it was something about it's better in the long run.
Mm-hmm.
To protect Michael. Which he's right. I mean, the way Heinlein crafted this entire story is masterful because I didn't expect any of that. Of course, I only expected the worst.
Yes.
I expected Michael to be on the run for the rest of his life, for Jill to get murdered.
Government to topple and collapse as they fought.
Yeah, to take over Mars and ruin this lovely culture of them just trying to chill or whatever. And I thought it was all going to go bad, but then it's like a major twist of, it's chill, it's fine.
Mm-hmm.
We're all good.
Yeah. And so I think we were all waiting for, a lot of times in science fiction, it's this huge clash of different worlds, different cultures, you know, and it's kind of like, how do we make it through?
You're waiting for that cataclysmic event to happen and then it to all go downhill.
Againly. And the summit was basically like...
It was very anticlimactic.
Yeah.
Nothing happened. It just was like, everybody was just like, cool, I guess.
Okay. Yeah.
That's cool. All right.
I guess.
You're free to roam. Yeah. You're free to roam the country, Mr. Valentine, Mr. Smith. And, yeah.
So that was kind of the end of part one. Now, it does, segment these parts.
Two? No, that is one, because...
Yeah, that is part one.
Yeah, because part 3 is something completely different.
Oh, yeah.
This book is wild. You don't ever expect... What I like about this book is because I never expected it to end up where it did.
Never in a million years.
I couldn't have made it up. Maybe that's because our disconnect to the 60s and our disconnect to the time that this book was written in. But also, you just didn't think it'll go from this innocent alien person and then to a cult leader?
Cult leader, yeah.
Yeah, he's a cult leader at the end of the book. Surprise.
Yeah, so
Spoiler
in part
alert.
2, it starts off, they're working at a circus. And it's very unexpected.
Yeah, what? Yeah, he and Jill run off to join the circus.
I'm just pause for effect.
Pause for effect.
But it's true.
You're like, wait. The Sovereign of Mars runs off to join the circus with his nurse girlfriend. Yeah. Are they...
They're not necessarily dating because...
But they're Michael, connected.
Yeah, so Michael, again, he doesn't see anyone in a quite sexual manner. He wants to grow closer. So he thinks basically the purpose...
Of sex
is just this euphoric moment of growing closer with your water brothers.
It's like a deep conversation or handshake. Well, it really is. He treats it like a handshake.
Yeah.
Let's grow closer.
And that's what he says. And some people, I'm like, they seem to get it, though.
They seem to be about it. So it's not about monogamy. This isn't your normal romantic tale. Actually, it's far from it.
It's far from it because one of the things what Jill does when being on the run with Michael is that he's teaching her Martian. Now, this, in a sense, you cannot learn Martian without thinking in Martian, which changes your thought process.
Which makes you get powers.
Yeah. Yeah. So Jill is starting to now learn some of these powers that Michael has.
So like the astral projecting? No. What does she learn?
She can start moving things.
With her mind.
With her mind.
Fun.
And she can start reading other people's minds as well.
Super useful.
Super useful. So essentially, they say that they're learning to turn tricks. They're learning to, engage the masses. Now, they don't do quite well at the circus. He's a little stiff.
Yeah,
but the thing is, he's performing real magic.
But,
people are like,
Lame.
So
He's not good at it. The circus wasn't his calling.
Yeah, but
until they go to that church.
Yeah, so
which again, I thought the church was gonna suck them in and use them for everything they got. Which the church, this is wild. So religion has turned into a casino.
Yes. It was an interesting thing because they talk about mega churches and you're like, okay, you can picture that.
Yeah, like Harvest.
But then they say, if you feel good doing it, it must be religious. So they have gambling in casinos.
Feel great gambling.
The women coming to collect offerings are dressed in gossamer see-through gowns.
Titties.
It is absolute, and they are known as the Fosterites. So this mega church is based around this.
It's basically like Vegas on steroids, but then throw Jesus in it.
Yeah. But actually, it was mainly about Foster.
Yeah. Like you're worshiping Foster, but also, oh my God,
they have it's convoluted. But essentially,
you don't expect any of this.
Valentine, who is often just called Smith in this book, sees this on TV and is like, I must know what these rituals are about because he wants to connect with human old ones, and he thinks, this Foster or Jesus must be old ones that he can go and talk to.
Yeah, because on Mars, when people die, they're not really dead. They're just kind of just hanging. They're ghosts just hanging out. And if you want to talk to the old ones or like your grandparents, you just call them and they come in the room.
Yeah. So
he's been looking for these old ones, and Foster kind of implies, or the Fosterites imply that they can connect with
Foster.
With Foster, the old ones, that they can talk to him and communicate with him. And Michael Smith, whatever, he's like, I'm about that life. Let's go check this out, Jill. Yeah. And Jill's like, we shouldn't.
But so they go, and of course, Fosterites are happy to receive the man from Mars.
That's good PR right there.
Yeah, and it was very interesting because he goes to meet the leader of the church, and of course, trying to be very protective of him. Jill is not very happy with their journey, but the leader basically has like a secret trap door and pulls him into this secret room where they keep the body of Foster.
So gross.
Yeah.
This book is just wild as fuck. Like, let's pause for a minute, because now we're just giving you a whole synopsis of the book. Yeah. And we should just, talk about it. Let's talk about it.
All right.
Because what the fuck?
I know.
I like the commentary on religion and what it could become. Because mega churches like Joel Osteen, I always think about Joel Osteen, and I think about when Hurricane Andrew barreled through Texas and he has that mega church, and they didn't let the people stay in there because he was like, no, it's flooded, and then somebody walked to the church and took a video and it wasn't. Like, it just seems like a very the Fosterites remind me of that kind of church.
Yeah, I have to say, I think what I got out of it is that, I felt it was more of a commentary on churches almost nowadays. Not necessarily of just what they could become, but
what they are.
Very much just amplified certain parts of mega churches that we see nowadays. Yeah. And basically took them to the extreme where, you're laughing about it a little, but then at the same time, you're kind of like,
that's horrifying.
Oh. Yeah.
And it's gross.
So
it's a little gross.
The commentary on religion was, I thought it was masterfully done.
Because it wasn't trying to offend anyone. And I like that he made it like Fosterite, like it's not normal, like Christianity. It's focusing on Foster and how they keep, his body locked away in a weird room, and the casinos. It is a cult, but this cult, I like that you can see how Michael borrowed from different parts of his life to create eventually his cult. From this time in the circus, from his time with Jubal, from his time exploring the Fosterites and all the stuff. You see how it all changes and wraps up into, and being Martian, wraps up into what he creates at the end of the book. And I think Heinlein does a really good job at getting us there, because I never thought we were going to end up where we ended up. This book is so fucking wild. I mean, I love this book. I read it all the time, and I recommend it to everyone.
I do too. God. It has so much to talk about, and while it seems so outlandish, I think kind of at the end you're realizing that the stranger in the strange land is you as the reader.
Yeah, it's not Michael. We're fine.
Yeah,
he's fine. It's us, because it seems he groks humanity better than humans do.
And yeah.
Like, it's just, at the end of it, you're like, shit, none of these people know. All the people trying to teach Michael something, and then Michael's actually like, no, you guys are doing it wrong. Just do it like this. I get it better. And you're like, you do.
Yeah. And so I think it was just very cool to see, it's his point of view is foreign over what we have know and experienced, but in the end of the day, he takes something quite profound usually from these various practices or well-known things and turns them on their head, leaving the reader to be
wowed.
Yes, and kind of blown away with the perspective.
Yeah, because every time I read it, I'm like, fuck. That's like the best way to describe it. It's like, what the fuck? It's a really good book, and you should definitely check it out, because, oh my God, I don't want to, bless you.
Sorry.
I don't want to, like, go all the way to the end.
No.
Because that'll just ruin it. It's too much. It's too much. So, like, we'll stop. Like, we gave you a lot. All right? We gave you a lot. I get it. But it doesn't scratch the surface. Like, we just kind of skimmed the top of the book is deep. It'll take you forever to read. The font is very small.
But again, it deals with usually, I think, what most people would constitute as sensitive topics.
True.
But in a way that it does challenge you as the reader, because you're trying to constantly understand someone else's point of view. And then it flips it on its head.
And it's cool that the book is about understanding each other's differences. That's one of the themes, is kind of not judging people until you understand them, or just getting to know different cultures and things like that. I think it's very cool. I love this book.
And I think every time you read it, you kind of put it down and you feel a little bit more Martian.
Yeah.
Is the best way I can describe it.
You feel a little more Martian, you grok it. A little more, not completely, not ever. You'll never completely grok it.
If you're sitting there wondering, what the heck are they talking about with the grokking?
Read the book.
You should read the book.
Because we can't explain it any better than we already did. Read the book. They explain it way better and not at all at the same time. I'll never completely grokking, but I do grok this book, kinda, and you should read it too. I've read it like 400 times. How many times have you read it?
Oh, I think at least 8.
Jesus. So yeah, that's why I asked her to be on this episode, because we both love this book so very much. And yeah, I think that's it. That's all we...
Yeah.
Is that?
I think most people are going to be like, you read it 8 times and you called him Bill Paxton. But
forgive the Bill Paxton. There are literally 3,000 characters in this book.
There are.
And his name is Ben Caxton. Sounds like Bill Paxton, but not Bill Paxton, the actor, Kelsey.
Yeah. But
I'm keeping that in.
Yeah. So I'd say, again, highly recommend this book. I think it should be required reading, quite honestly.
Yeah, you can get it on the Libby app if you have access to Libby from your library. I know you reread it via audiobook on Libby, and you can get it at all your local bookstores, comic book stores. You can just ask them to order it, support local businesses. What else? Yeah, read this book. Oh, if you have any questions, comments, if you like this episode, you can send an email to theblackbibliophile@gmail.com. You can also follow me on Twitter and Instagram. Leave a review on Apple Podcasts if you like the podcast, or if you hate it. Just love to see what you guys think. And yeah, that's it.
That's it.
Bye.
Bye.